Kill the dog first. Let her watch.
First we hunt her dog.
Derek Mason swung the bat. Emma Collins threw herself over Scout, her small body curled around the trembling dog. The wood cracked against her spine. She cried out, but didn't move, couldn't move. Her thin arms wrapped tight around Scout's bleeding fur, shielding him from the next blow. "Look at this. Pathetic," Derek laughed. "Can't even stand up. Can't fight back. Just lying there like a worm." He kicked her ribs. She gasped. Tears streamed down her face. But she wouldn't let go. Wouldn't uncover Scout. Her body shook. Her voice broke. "Please, please stop. He's all I have." "Then you'll have nothing." Derek raised the bat again. 8,000 miles away, a phone buzzed. Commander Jack Collins answered. He heard his wife begging, heard men laughing, heard a small dog crying. His blood turned to ice. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. And if this story moves you, please subscribe and follow the journey until the very end. Let's see how far this story travels together. Emma Collins heard Scout scream. Not bark, not growl, scream. It was a sound she had never heard from him before. A sound of pure terror and pain that cut through the quiet afternoon like a knife through flesh. She dropped her paintbrush. The watercolor portrait of a children's book rabbit forgotten. Her bare feet hit the wooden floor as she ran toward the front door. Through the window, she saw them. 4 men. Young. Expensive clothes. The kind of clothes that cost more than her monthly grocery budget. They surrounded Scout on the porch, and one of them, the tallest one, the one with styled hair and a gold watch catching the afternoon sun, was raising a baseball bat over his head. "Stop!" Emma threw open the door. The man with the bat turned. He was maybe 26, 27, handsome in a cruel way. His smile made her skin crawl. "Well, well, look who decided to join the party." Scout struggled to his feet. Blood dripped from a gash above his left eye, matting his golden black fur. His small body trembled violently, but he didn't retreat. He positioned himself between Emma and the men, baring his teeth, growling despite his obvious pain. "Get off my property!" Emma's voice came out stronger than she felt. "Now!" "Your property?" The man laughed. His friends laughed with him. "Sweetheart, this stopped being your property the moment you ignored our offer. I told your people, I'm not selling." "That's what you said. 3 times. He took a step closer. Scout's growl deepened. "But here's the thing. My father doesn't accept no for an answer. And neither do I." Emma's hand moved instinctively to her belly. 8 months pregnant. 8 months of hoping, praying, preparing for the life growing inside her. "Please, I'm pregnant. Whatever business you have, we can discuss it." "Discuss?" The man's smile vanished. "The time for discussion was 3 months ago, when you first got our offer, when you could have taken the money and walked away with a profit." He gestured at the cabin, the lake, the trees. "Instead, you wasted my time, my father's time, and Derek Mason's time is very, very valuable." Derek Mason. Emma knew that name. Everyone in Cedar Falls knew that name. Richard Mason owned half the county. His son Derek had a reputation. Parties that got out of hand, accusations that never went anywhere, a trail of people who'd learned not to complain. "Your father's offer was insulting," Emma said. "This property has been in my husband's family for 3 generations. It's not for sale at any price." "Everything has a price." "Not this." Derek's eyes hardened. Something shifted in his expression. The mask of charm slipping to reveal something darker underneath. "Where's your husband, the soldier?" "He'll be home soon." "Will he?" Derek pulled out his phone, made a show of scrolling through it. "According to my sources, Commander Jack Collins is currently deployed with SEAL Team 5. Location classified. Duration unknown. He looked up. Which means you're alone out here. You and your little mutt. No neighbors within a mile. No help coming. Scout barked. Sharp. Warning. Derek kicked him. The sound Scout made when his body hit the porch railing would haunt Emma for the rest of her life. A yelp that broke into a whimper. He tried to stand, legs giving out. Tried again. Scout! Emma lunged toward her dog. Derek caught her arm. His grip was iron. Here's what's going to happen. His breath was hot against her face. Whiskey and entitlement. You're going to sign the papers. Right now. Today. And then you're going to get in your car and drive away from Cedar Falls. And never come back. Let go of me. Or what? He laughed. You'll call the cops? My father owns the cops. You'll call a lawyer? My father owns the lawyers. You'll call your soldier husband? His grip tightened. He's on the other side of the world. By the time he even gets your message, this will all be over. Emma's free hand moved without thinking. Her palm connected with Derek's face. A slap that echoed across the lake. Silence. Derek touched his cheek. His eyes went cold, empty, like something human had just switched off inside him. That, he said quietly, was a mistake. The first real blow caught her across the temple. The world tilted. She fell. Her hands went to her belly, trying to protect her baby even as she hit the wooden boards. Hold her down! Hands grabbed her arms, pinned her. Derek stood over her, unbuckling his belt. No, please, I'm pregnant. Should have thought about that before you hit me, Scout attacked. 30 pounds of loyal fury launched himself at Derek's leg. His teeth sank into flesh. Derek screamed. His friends scrambled backward. One of them kicked Scout, but the little dog held on, growling, biting deeper. Get this thing off me! One of the men grabbed a baseball bat, swung it. The crack of wood against Scout's rib cage was sickening. The dog flew, hit the porch. Didn't get up this time. Scout! Emma screamed. Scout, no! She tried to crawl toward him. Derek grabbed her hair, yanked her back. Sign the papers! Go to hell! The belt came down across her back. Pain exploded through her body. She screamed, tried to protect her belly. The belt came down again. Sign them! No! Again, and again, and again. Emma's vision blurred. Her body shook. But somewhere deep inside her, beneath the pain and the terror, something refused to break. Her phone. It was in her pocket. She'd grabbed it without thinking when she ran for the door. Hold her still, Derek ordered. She's reaching for something. Hands tightened on her arms, but Emma was faster. Her fingers found the phone, found the emergency speed dial, the one Jack had made her memorize before every deployment. What are you? Give me that! Derek grabbed for the phone. Emma held on. The call connected. 8,000 miles away, her husband answered. Emma? Jack! Her voice was raw, broken, desperate. Jack, help me. What's going on? Emma, talk to me. Derek ripped the phone from her hand. He stared at it, then at Emma. Then he smiled. Commander Collins, I presume? Who is this? Where's my wife? Your wife is learning a valuable lesson about property rights. Derek pressed the phone closer to his ear. Can you hear her crying? Can you hear your little dog whimpering? That's the sound of someone who should have taken our offer. If you touch her, I'm already touching her. What are you going to do about it from 8,000 miles away? Derek laughed. By the time you get home, this will all be a distant memory, a cautionary tale. The soldier who thought his wife was safe. He ended the call, dropped the phone, crushed it under his boot. Now, Ben, where were we? Emma looked at Scout. The dog was still breathing. Barely. His eyes found hers. That same loyalty. That same love. Even now. Even broken and bleeding. I'll sign. Derek paused. What? I'll sign your papers. Just please. Please let me take my dog to a vet. He's dying. Derek studied her face, looking for the trick, looking for the trap. You'll sign? Everything? Right now? Yes. Just please let me help my dog. Derek smiled. The smile of a man who always got what he wanted. See? That wasn't so hard. He snapped his fingers. Tyler, get the documents from the boat. One of his friends jogged toward the dock. Emma crawled to Scout, gathered his broken body in her arms. His tail wagged weakly. Once. Twice. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, boy. Scout licked her hand. Even dying, he was trying to comfort her. The man named Tyler returned with a folder. Derek pulled out a stack of papers, held them in front of Emma's face. Sign at the bottom. All 3 copies. Emma looked at the papers, at the numbers that would take everything from her, from Jack, from their unborn daughter. I need a pen. Derek handed her one. Gold. Expensive. Like everything else about him. Emma's hand shook as she took it. She looked at the signature line, at her husband's family name, at the legacy Derek Mason was trying to steal. She signed, her hand moving across the paper, writing something. But not her name, not her real name. Derek snatched the papers, looked at the signature. His face went red. What the hell is this? Emma had written 4 words. Go to hell, Derek. You little... He raised his fist. A siren wailed in the distance. Everyone froze. Someone called the cops, one of Derek's friends said. We need to go. The nearest neighbor is a mile away. How would they even... I don't know, but we need to go. Derek looked at Emma, at Scout, at the approaching sirens. This isn't over, he said quietly. Not even close. You think calling the cops will save you? My father owns the sheriff. He owns this whole county. And when you're sitting in an interrogation room being called a liar, remember that I gave you a chance. He turned, walked toward the dock. His friends followed. Derek! Emma's voice stopped him. My husband is coming for you. Your husband is 8,000 miles away. He won't be for long. Derek laughed. By the time he gets here, you'll be gone. This property will be my father's, and no one will remember your name. The boats roared to life, wakes churned. Within 60 seconds, they were gone. Emma sat alone on her porch, her dog dying in her arms, blood soaking into her dress. The sirens grew louder, but she wasn't listening to them. She was remembering the sound of her husband's voice, the terror in it, the rage. Jack was coming, and Derek Mason had no idea what was coming with him. The squad car pulled up 20 minutes later. Deputy Wade Hollins was 52, overweight and tired. He'd been working for the Cedar Falls Sheriff's Department for 23 years, and in all that time, he'd learned one fundamental truth. You don't cross the Masons. He found Emma on the porch steps. Her lip was split. Her eye was swelling. Blood stained her dress. A small dog lay unconscious in her arms. Mrs. Collins? Emma looked up. Her eyes were red from crying, but fierce, unbroken. They attacked me. 4 men. Derek Mason and 3 others. Hollins felt his stomach drop. Derek Mason? I know who he is. I know who his father is, and I don't care. Emma stood slowly, cradling Scout. He beat me. He kicked my dog. He tried to force me to sign away my property. Ma'am, those are serious allegations. They're not allegations, they're facts. Hollins looked at her injuries, at the blood on the porch, at the small dog barely breathing in her arms. I'll need you to come down to the station, make a formal statement. I need to take my dog to a vet first. I'm sure the dog can wait. He can't wait. Emma's voice hardened. He protected me. While 4 grown men beat me, a 15-pound dog stood between them and me. He's dying because he tried to save my life. Her eyes met the deputy's. So no, he can't wait. Hollins shifted uncomfortably. I'll call ahead to the vet. Have them expect you. Thank you. Emma moved toward her car. Hollins watched her go. Something about this woman bothered him. Most people, when they heard the Mason name, they backed down, apologized, pretended it didn't happen. This woman looked like she was preparing for war. Mrs. Collins, Emma paused. I'm going to give you some advice, off the record. Hollins walked closer, lowered his voice. The Masons have been in this county for 4 generations. They employ 300 people. They donate to every charity, every church, every campaign, and they have connections. Deep connections. What's your point? My point is that whatever happened here today, you might want to think carefully about how you report it. Think about whether it's worth making enemies out of the most powerful family in Cedar Falls. Emma stared at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. Deputy, let me tell you something about my husband. He spent 12 years in the most dangerous places on earth. He's eliminated threats that would give you nightmares. And the one thing he loves more than his country is his family. She opened her car door, placed Scout gently on the passenger seat. So when you're warning me about making enemies, maybe you should warn the Masons instead. Because Derek Mason just threatened a Navy SEAL's pregnant wife. And where my husband comes from, that's a declaration of war. She drove away. Hollins stood in the driveway, watching her taillights disappear around the bend. Then he pulled out his phone, dialed a number he'd hoped he'd never have to use. Sheriff Bradley? We have a problem. 8,000 miles away. Forward Operating Base Sentinel. Eastern European Theater. Location classified. Commander Jack Collins stood in the communications tent, phone in hand, unable to move. Ranger sat at his feet, sensing his handler's distress, whining softly. The call had lasted 43 seconds. 43 seconds of his wife screaming. A man's voice, mocking, cruel. And then, silence. Jack! Lieutenant Rodriguez appeared at his side. Miguel Rodriguez. 15 years of service. 4 tours with Jack. The kind of friendship forged in blood and fire. What happened? Jack's voice came out hollow. Emma. Someone's attacking Emma. What? Where? Home, at the cabin. Jack's hands were shaking. He'd faced death dozens of times without flinching. But this was different. This wasn't an enemy he could see, a threat he could neutralize. This was 8,000 miles of helplessness. I have to get home. You're in the middle of a classified operation. I don't care. Rodriguez grabbed his arm. Jack, listen to me. We're 4 hours from extraction. If you walk out now, you're looking at a court-martial. Then court-martial me. And what good will you do Emma from a military prison? Jack stopped, his chest heaving, his mind racing through scenarios, plans, possibilities. Rodriguez was right. If he abandoned the mission, he'd lose everything: his career, his freedom, his ability to protect his family. But if he stayed... I can't just stand here, Miguel. He was hurting her. I heard her screaming. Then let's move smart. Rodriguez pulled out his own phone. I'll contact the team stateside. Get someone to check on her. Meanwhile, you talk to Hayes. Get emergency leave authorized. Hayes won't authorize. He will when I tell him what's at stake. Rodriguez met Jack's eyes. Your wife. Your unborn child. A home invasion. Any commanding officer who doesn't authorize emergency leave for that is going to have to explain himself to a lot of people. Jack forced himself to breathe. Think. Plan. This was what he'd trained for. Operating under pressure. Making decisions when emotions screamed for chaos. Okay. Contact Walsh and Chen. Tell them to get to Cedar Falls as fast as possible. Full surveillance on the cabin. What are you going to do? Jack looked at his phone. At the picture of Emma on the lock screen. Smiling. Happy. Safe. I'm going to find Lieutenant Commander Hayes, and then I'm going to get on a plane. He paused at the tent entrance. And Rodriguez? Find out who Derek Mason is. I want to know everything. Family, friends, business, weaknesses. His voice dropped to something cold, something dangerous. By the time I land, I want to know what he eats for breakfast. Rodriguez nodded slowly. And when you know all that? Jack's eyes met his. Then I'm going to teach him what happens when you hurt the wrong man's family. The veterinary clinic was a small building on the edge of Cedar Falls. Dr. Patricia Reeves had run it for 30 years. She'd seen everything. Dogs hit by cars, horses with colic, barn cats attacked by coyotes. She'd never seen anything like Emma Collins. The young woman burst through the door carrying a small dog soaked in blood. Her own face was battered, swollen, one eye nearly shut. Her pregnant belly pressed against the torn fabric of her dress. Please help him. Patricia took the dog immediately. Scout, she remembered him from his last checkup. A sweet little mixed breed, always wagging his tail. What happened? Men. They attacked us. They beat him with a bat. Please, is he going to live? Patricia examined the dog quickly. Cracked ribs, internal bleeding likely. Possible head trauma. I need to get him into surgery, right now. She looked at Emma. And you need to go to the hospital. I'm not leaving him. Mrs. Collins, I'm not leaving. Patricia saw something in the young woman's eyes. Not just fear. Not just desperation. Something fiercer. Something that would not bend. Then sit down. I'll do everything I can. For the next 3 hours, Emma sat in the waiting room while Patricia worked to save Scout's life. She didn't move. Didn't eat. Didn't take her eyes off the surgery door. At 7:43 p.m., the door opened. Patricia emerged. Her scrubs were spotted with blood. Her face was exhausted. But she was smiling. He's stable. 2 cracked ribs, a concussion, and more bruises than I can count. But he's going to make it. Emma burst into tears. Can I see him? In a few minutes. He's still coming out of anesthesia. Patricia sat beside her. Mrs. Collins, I've been a vet for 30 years. I've seen dogs run into traffic for their owners. Seen them fight off bears, coyotes, things twice their size. What your little dog did, standing his ground against grown men, that's not something you train. That's love. He protected me, when no one else would. I heard about what happened. The whole town's talking about it. Patricia paused. They're saying you attacked Derek Mason. Emma's head snapped up. What? The Mason family is already putting out their version, saying you went crazy. Attacked Derek when he came to make a legitimate business offer, saying your dog bit him unprovoked. That's a lie. I know. Patricia met her eyes. I've known the Mason family for 30 years. I've treated their horses, their hunting dogs, and I've treated the animals of people they've disagreed with. She didn't elaborate. She didn't need to. Be careful, Mrs. Collins. Very careful. My husband is coming home. I heard. A Navy SEAL. Patricia nodded slowly. That might help, or it might make things worse. The Masons don't like being challenged, and they really don't like losing. They haven't lost yet. No. Patricia stood. But I've got a feeling they're about to. Sheriff Tom Bradley sat in his office at 9 p.m., a glass of bourbon in his hand and a headache building behind his eyes. His phone sat on the desk. 3 missed calls from Richard Mason, 2 from Richard's lawyer, 1 from the mayor. The Collins woman was becoming a problem. He'd hoped she'd be smart, take the warning, file a quiet complaint that would get buried in paperwork. But she'd insisted on making a formal statement, detailed, specific, including Derek's name, his friends' names, dates, times, everything. Now it was on the record. And once something was on the record, it got complicated. His phone buzzed again. Richard Mason. Bradley picked up. Tom, tell me you have this under control. I'm working on it. Working on it? Richard's voice was cold, controlled. The voice of a man who controlled everything and everyone. My son's name is all over the county tonight. People are saying he beat a pregnant woman. Do you understand what that does to our family? To our business? Your son did beat a pregnant woman, Richard, and her dog, in broad daylight, on her own property. She attacked him first. That's not what the evidence shows. Then change the evidence. Bradley closed his eyes. This was it. The moment he'd been dreading for 20 years. The moment when his compromises caught up with him. I can't just make this disappear, Richard. She made a formal statement. There are medical records, veterinary records. If this goes to trial, it's not going to trial. Her husband is a Navy SEAL. Did you know that? Apparently he's already on his way home. These aren't people who scare easy. Silence on the other end. Tom, let me be very clear. Richard's voice dropped. My family has invested a great deal in your career, your department, your retirement fund, investments that could be very easily reassessed. Is that a threat? It's a statement of fact. Handle the Collins situation. Make it go away, or I'll find someone who will. The line went dead. Bradley sat in the darkness, the bourbon turning sour in his stomach. He'd spent 20 years making deals, looking the other way, telling himself it was the cost of keeping the peace. But this felt different. A pregnant woman beaten on her own porch. A 15-pound dog nearly killed for defending his owner. A SEAL commander racing home for vengeance. This felt like the beginning of something that couldn't be controlled. Something that was going to burn. Emma sat beside Scout's recovery cage, her hand pressed against the wire, her dog's nose nuzzled against her palm. You're a hero, she whispered. You know that? A real hero. Scout's tail wagged weakly. Even sedated, he responded to her voice. Her phone buzzed. A number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer, but something made her thumb slide across the screen. Mrs. Collins? Who is this? My name is Miguel Rodriguez. I'm a friend of Jack's, SEAL Team 5. Emma's heart stopped. Is Jack okay? He's fine. He's on his way home. I just wanted to let you know, 2 of our guys are already in Cedar Falls, Walsh and Shen. They'll be at your cabin within the hour. How? Jack called ahead. The moment he heard what happened, he activated everyone he could trust. Rodriguez paused. Mrs. Collins, I want you to understand something. What those men did to you today? They're going to answer for it. Every single one of them. Jack won't stop until they do. Emma felt tears building again. I didn't want this. I just wanted to live in peace. I know, and you will. But first, there's a price to be paid. Rodriguez's voice hardened. The men who attacked you, they thought they were hurting a woman alone. a soft target. They had no idea what they were waking up. What do you mean? I mean that Derek Mason just started a war with maybe SEALs, and in my experience, that's a war no one wins. The line went dead. Emma looked at Scout, at the bandages covering his small body, at the fight still burning in his eyes. "Jack's coming," she whispered, "and he's bringing an army." Scout's tail wagged again. Outside, the sun had set. The lake was dark. The trees were shadows. And somewhere in the darkness, the first pieces of Commander Jack Collins's response were already moving into place. 2 hours later, a pickup truck pulled up to the Collins cabin. No headlights, engine quiet. 2 men stepped out, James Walsh and David Chen. 12 years of special operations between them. They moved through the darkness like ghosts. Walsh surveyed the damage. Bloodstains on the porch, broken furniture inside. A small dog's collar lying in the grass, tag glinting in the moonlight. "Bastards," he muttered. Chen was already setting up surveillance equipment. Cameras, motion sensors, a secure communications relay. "Property's compromised," Chen reported. "Signs of at least 4 hostiles. They came by boat, looks like. Doc shows recent traffic." "They'll be back." "Probably. Question is, when?" Walsh pulled up his phone, scrolled through the data Rodriguez had compiled. Derek Mason, 27, son of Richard Mason, CEO of Mason Development Corporation. Arrested twice for assault. Both times charges were dropped. Protected by family money and political connections. The father? Worse, Richard Mason has been systematically buying up lakefront property in this county for 15 years. Anyone who refuses to sell tends to have accidents. Chen's jaw tightened. These are the guys who attacked a pregnant woman? These are the guys. How long until Jack gets here? 18 hours, maybe less, depending on connections. Chen looked out at the dark lake. Somewhere out there, men were sleeping who thought they'd gotten away with assault, with attempted property theft, with terrorizing an innocent family. They have no idea what's coming, do they? Walsh smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. Not even a little bit. 3:47 a.m. Emma woke in the veterinary clinic's back room, Scout's cage beside her cot. Something had jarred her from sleep. A sound. A feeling. Her phone was vibrating. She grabbed it. Jack's number. "Jack?" "I'm in the air. 12 more hours." His voice was strained, exhausted, but underneath it something harder. "How are you? How's Scout?" "Scout's going to be okay. Cracked ribs, concussion, but he's going to make it." "And you?" Emma touched her swollen face, her bruised arms, the terror that still lived in her chest. "I'm scared, Jack. I'm really scared." "I know, baby. I know." A pause. "But I need you to listen to me. Walsh and Chen are at the cabin. They're going to watch over the property until I get there. You're safe. Scout's safe. The baby's safe." "Derek Mason said his father owns this whole county. The police, the lawyers, everyone." "His father doesn't own me." "Jack." "Emma, listen." Jack's voice dropped. The gentle husband voice was gone. This was the commander voice. The voice that had led men into battle and brought them home again. What those men did to you today? It's not going to stand. I'm going to find them, every single one of them. And I'm going to make sure they understand exactly what they've done. "I don't want you to do something that gets you in trouble. They're not worth your career. You're worth everything. Our baby is worth everything." Scout, A 15-pound dog that nearly died protecting you. He's worth everything. Jack's breath was heavy. These men thought they could hurt my family and walk away. They thought money and connections made them untouchable. They're about to learn how wrong they were. What are you going to do? Silence. Then, whatever I have to. Emma closed her eyes. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I love you, Jack Collins. I love you too. More than anything in this world. Another pause. Get some sleep. I'll be there before you know it. Jack? Yeah? Make them pay. For Scout. For me. For our baby. Her voice hardened. Make them understand what they've done. Jack's response was quiet, certain, absolute. I will. The line went dead. Emma lay in the darkness, her hand pressed against Scout's cage, her baby kicking gently in her belly. Somewhere over the ocean, her husband was racing toward home. And somewhere in Cedar Falls, Derek Mason was sleeping peacefully, dreaming of conquests and victories. He would never sleep peacefully again. The truck pulled into the clinic parking lot at 6:47 p.m. the following day. Emma heard it before she saw it. The engine, the door slamming, footsteps running. She stood up from Scout's cage just as Jack burst through the door. He was still wearing his Navy working uniform, digital camouflage, green and brown. His face was unshaven. His eyes were red from exhaustion and something darker. Behind him, a German shepherd with scars across his muzzle moved like a shadow. Emma! She ran to him. He caught her, held her, his arms wrapped around her like he was afraid she'd disappear if he let go. I'm here, he whispered. I'm here now. Emma broke. All the strength she'd been holding on to for 36 hours crumbled. She sobbed against his chest, her whole body shaking. They hurt Scout. They hit me. They said they'd come back. They won't touch you again. Ever. Jack, you didn't see them. Derek Mason, he's... I know who he is. Jack pulled back. His hands cupped her face. His thumbs wiped her tears. I know everything about him. His family, his friends, his weaknesses. His eyes met hers. And I know exactly what I'm going to do. What? First, I'm going to see our dog. Then I'm going to take you home. And then I'm going to pay Derek Mason a visit. Emma grabbed his arm. Jack, the sheriff is protecting them. The whole town is... I don't care about the sheriff. I don't care about the town. Jack's voice dropped. The only thing I care about is standing in front of me. You, our baby, Scout. Everything else is just obstacles. Ranger padded over to Scout's cage. The German shepherd sniffed at the smaller dog, then lay down beside the cage. Guarding, protecting, like he understood. Scout's tail wagged weakly. He protected you, Jack said quietly, looking at the small dog. 15 pounds against 4 grown men. He didn't run. He wouldn't leave me. No. Jack knelt beside the cage. His finger traced the wire. He wouldn't. Dr. Reeves appeared from the back. She stopped when she saw Jack. The uniform, the German shepherd, the cold certainty in his eyes. Commander Collins? How's my dog? Recovering well. Another few days and he should be ready to go home. She paused. Your wife refused to leave his side. Hasn't eaten. Hasn't slept properly. Whatever you're planning to do, make sure she's safe first. That's exactly what I'm planning. Jack stood, took Emma's hand. Let's go home. The drive to the cabin took 20 minutes. Emma sat in the passenger seat, her hand on Jack's arm, unable to let go. Ranger sat in the back, alert, ears swiveling at every sound. Walsh and Chen are already at the property, Jack said. They've set up surveillance, motion sensors, secure communications. You brought your team? They volunteered, the moment they heard what happened. Jack's jaw tightened. Derek Mason doesn't know it yet, but he's not fighting a pregnant woman anymore. He's fighting Navy SEALs. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then, I signed the papers. Jack's head snapped toward her. What? Not really. I wrote, "Go to hell, Derek," instead of my name. But for a second I almost gave in. I almost let them win. But you didn't. Scout saved me. If he hadn't attacked Derek, I don't know what would have happened. Jack reached over, took her hand, squeezed. You're the strongest person I know, Emma Collins. You always have been. And when this is over, Derek Mason is going to understand exactly how strong. They pulled up to the cabin as the sun was setting. Walsh met them at the door. 6'3", built like a linebacker, a face that had seen combat in 4 different countries. Commander, Mrs. Collins. Status? Property secure. No activity since we arrived. But, Walsh hesitated. But what? We intercepted some communications. Mason's people are planning something. We don't know what yet, but there's chatter about finishing what Derek started. Emma's hand went to her belly. Jack noticed. They're not getting anywhere near her. No, sir, they're not. Chen appeared from around the side of the cabin, smaller than Walsh, quieter, but his eyes missed nothing. Surveillance is up. Cameras covering every approach. I've also been monitoring local law enforcement frequencies. He pulled out a tablet. Sheriff Bradley made 3 calls to Richard Mason's office today, and 1 to someone we haven't identified yet. Encrypted line. Can you crack it? Already working on it. Jack nodded. Good. I want to know everything that happens in this county. Every call, every meeting, every move the Masons make. What's the play, boss? Walsh asked. Jack looked at the cabin, at the bloodstains still visible on the porch, at the broken window Derek's men hadn't bothered to fix. Tomorrow I'm going to introduce myself to Derek Mason, face to face, man to man. And if he doesn't listen, then I'll make him listen. That night, Emma lay in bed, Jack beside her. For the first time in 36 hours, she felt safe. I missed you, she whispered. I missed you too. Every day. Every minute. When you're deployed, I try to be strong. I try not to worry. But this time, she turned to face him. This time you weren't there. And I was alone. And these men were hurting me, and I thought... What did you think? I thought I was going to lose the baby. I thought they were going to kill Scout. I thought... Her voice broke. I thought I'd never see you again. Jack pulled her close. His hand rested on her belly. Their daughter kicked against his palm. I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere until this is finished. Promise? Promise. They lay in silence. Outside, Walsh and Chen maintained their watch. Ranger lay at the foot of the bed, one ear always listening. Jack? Yeah. Don't kill him. Jack was quiet for a moment. Emma, I know what you're capable of. I know what you've done for this country. But Derek Mason isn't worth your freedom. He isn't worth our family being torn apart. He hurt you. And I want him to pay, but not with your life, not with our future. Emma's hand found his. Find another way. Please. Jack stared at the ceiling for a long time. I'll try. That's all I'm asking. Morning came cold and gray. Jack was up before dawn, showered, shaved, put on civilian clothes, jeans, a dark shirt, boots that had walked through deserts and mountains and war zones. Emma met him in the kitchen. Where are you going? To send a message. Jack? I'm not going to kill him, Emma. I promised. He kissed her forehead. But he needs to understand what he's dealing with. He needs to know that what happened on this porch was the biggest mistake of his life. Be careful. Always. He walked out. Ranger followed. Walsh was waiting by the truck. You want backup? No. This needs to be one-on-one, man-to-man. Jack opened the door. But if I'm not back in 2 hours, come find me. And if something happens? Jack's eyes met his. Then finish what I started. The Mason estate sat on 300 acres of prime lakefront property. Iron gates, security cameras, a driveway that wound through manicured grounds. Jack pulled up to the gate. A security guard approached. Can I help you? I'm here to see Derek Mason. Do you have an appointment? No, but he'll want to see me. Jack smiled. It wasn't friendly. Tell him Commander Jack Collins is here, the husband of the woman he beat 2 days ago. The guard's face went pale. He retreated to his booth, made a call, spoke rapidly, listened. His expression shifted from confusion to concern. The gate opened. You can go in, sir. Mr. Mason will meet you at the main house. Jack drove through. Ranger sat in the passenger seat, calm but alert. They passed gardens, fountains, a tennis court, a helipad. The kind of wealth that thought it could buy anything. Anyone. Derek Mason was waiting on the front steps. He looked different from the photos Chen had compiled. Younger, softer. The kind of man who'd never worked a real day in his life. A bandage wrapped around his ankle where Scout had bitten him. Jack parked, got out, left Ranger in the truck with the window cracked. Derek watched him approach, trying to look confident, failing. Commander Collins, I've heard a lot about you. I doubt that. My father said you might come by. He wanted me to tell you that what happened at your cabin was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. My friends and I had been drinking. We went to make a business offer. Things got out of hand. Jack stopped 3 feet from Derek, close enough to smell his expensive cologne, close enough to see the fear he was trying to hide. Let me tell you what I understand, Derek. You went to my home. You attacked my wife. You beat my dog. You threatened my unborn child. Jack's voice was quiet, controlled, terrifying. And then you laughed about it. You bragged about putting the soldier's wife in her place. Derek's face went white. Who told you? I know everything, Derek. Everything you've done. Everything your father's done. Every property you've stolen. Every person you've hurt. Jack took another step closer. I also know that you've never faced someone who couldn't be bought. Someone who doesn't care about your money, or your connections, or your father's name. Is this a threat? It's an education. Jack's eyes never blinked. You have one chance. One. Walk away from my family. Publicly apologize to my wife. Drop all interest in our property. And I'll let this end peacefully. Derek's fear flickered, morphed into something uglier. Arrogance. You think you can threaten me? In my own house? He laughed. My father has connections you can't imagine. Politicians, judges, people who can make your life very difficult. I've spent 12 years making my life difficult in places where your father's money means nothing, against enemies who would eat you alive. This isn't Afghanistan, Commander. No, it isn't. Jack smiled again, that same cold smile. In Afghanistan, I had rules of engagement. Here, I don't. The front door opened. Richard Mason stepped out. He was 62, silver hair, tailored suit. The kind of man who'd built an empire by crushing anyone in his way. Commander Collins, I think that's enough. Jack didn't turn. Mr. Mason, my son made a mistake. I'm prepared to make it right. Richard descended the steps. Name your price, medical bills, property improvements, a settlement for your wife's distress, whatever you want. I want your son to face charges for assault. That's not going to happen. Then we have nothing to discuss. Commander, Richard's voice hardened. You seem like an intelligent man. So let me explain how this works. I own this county. The sheriff answers to me. The district attorney owes me his career. Every judge within 100 miles has received my contributions. He spread his hands. You can't win this fight. The best you can do is accept my offer and move on with your life. Jack was quiet for a moment. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out a flash drive. You know what this is? Richard's eyes narrowed. Should I? It's 3 years of financial records, property transfers, payments to county officials, evidence of arson, fraud, and at least 2 suspicious deaths connected to your development projects. Jack turned the drive over in his fingers. My team compiled it in 24 hours. Imagine what we'll find in a week, a month, a year. Richard's composure cracked. Just for a second. Where did you get that? It doesn't matter where I got it. What matters is where it goes next. Jack pocketed the drive. Right now it's sitting on a secure server. If anything happens to me, my wife, my dog, or my property, copies go to every federal agency with jurisdiction. FBI, IRS, DEA. You're bluffing. I'm a Navy SEAL, Mr. Mason. I don't bluff. The silence stretched between them. Father and son on one side, a lone soldier on the other. You should leave now, Commander. Richard's voice was ice. Before this conversation goes somewhere we'll all regret. I was just about to say the same thing. Jack turned to Derek. Remember what I told you. One chance. After that, I stopped being patient. He walked back to his truck, got in. Ranger's tail wagged once in greeting. In the rearview mirror, Jack watched the Masons standing on their front steps, father furious, son terrified. He pulled out his phone, called Rodriguez. It's done. The message is delivered. How'd they take it? About how you'd expect. They think their money makes them untouchable. Does it? Jack thought about Emma, about Scout, about the daughter he hadn't even met yet. No, it doesn't. That night, the first attack came. Jack was on the porch with Ranger when he heard the engines. Multiple boats, moving fast across the lake. Walsh! I see them. 4 boats, at least 12 hostiles. Emma, get to the safe room, now! Emma didn't argue. She moved, Ranger following, while Jack grabbed his rifle. Chen, what do we have? Thermal shows 18 hostiles, armed, professional formation. A pause. These aren't drunk rich kids, Commander. These are mercenaries. Jack felt the familiar calm settle over him. The battle calm. The place where fear didn't exist. Rules of engagement? Your call, boss. Jack watched the boats approach, watched the men preparing to dock, watched 18 weapons being readied. Non-lethal, if possible. I don't want to give them any excuse to play victim. Copy that. The first boat reached the dock. Men poured onto the wood, spreading out, weapons raised, professional, disciplined. The kind of team money could buy. Jack stepped off the porch. That's far enough. The lead man stopped. Night vision goggles, military-grade body armor, and the assault rifle that cost more than most cars. Commander Collins, we're here to deliver a message from Mr. Mason. Funny, I just delivered one to him this morning. He didn't appreciate it. The man gestured at his team. He wanted you to understand the consequences of making threats. So he sent 18 armed men to attack a pregnant woman in her home. Jack shook his head. And people wonder why I don't respect rich people. We're not here to hurt your wife, Commander. We're here to hurt you. Then you should have brought more men. The mercenary laughed. You're outnumbered 6-1. I've had worse odds. Is that right? Kandahar, 2018. 32 hostiles, 4 SEALs. Jack's voice never wavered. We won. The laughter stopped. I don't want to fight you, Jack continued. I don't want to embarrass you in front of your employers. But if you take one more step toward that cabin, I will put every single one of you in the hospital. And I'll do it without breaking a sweat. You're bluffing. You're the second person to say that to me today. Jack raised his rifle. The first one already regrets it. Silence. The mercenary leader studied Jack, studied the cabin behind him. The darkness where Walsh and Chen waited, unseen. There are more of you, aren't there? Does it matter? How many? Enough. Another silence. Then the mercenary lowered his weapon. Fall back. Sir? I said fall back. He looked at Jack with something that might have been respect. You're not what I expected, Commander. Nobody ever expects us. That's why we keep winning. The mercenaries retreated. Boats roared to life. Within minutes, the lake was quiet again. Walsh emerged from the shadows. That was impressive. I thought for sure we were going to have a firefight. The night's still young, Jack lowered his rifle. They'll be back, and next time, they won't underestimate us. What's the plan? Jack looked at the cabin, at the light in the window where Emma waited, at the life growing inside her that he'd do anything to protect. We take the fight to them. No more waiting. No more defense. His eyes hardened. Tomorrow, I'm going to dismantle Richard Mason's empire, piece by piece. How? By exposing everything he's tried to hide, and by making sure every person he's hurt knows that it's finally safe to fight back. Walsh nodded slowly. You really think that's enough? These people have been in power for decades. They've survived investigations, lawsuits, everything. They've never survived us. Jack walked back to the cabin. Emma met him at the door.
Are they gone?
For now.
They'll come back.
Yes.
Then what do we do?
Jack took her hands, looked into her eyes. We do what we always do. We fight. We survive. And we win.
How can you be so sure?
Jack glanced at Ranger, sitting guard by the window, at the property where 3 generations of his family had lived, at the woman carrying his child. Because we have something worth fighting for, and that's worth more than all the money in the world. Outside, the lake lay dark and silent. But somewhere in that darkness, Richard Mason was making his next move. And Jack Collins was ready for it. The call came at 4:17 a.m. Jack was already awake, sitting on the porch with Ranger, watching the lake. He hadn't slept. Couldn't sleep. The mercenaries would return. It wasn't a question of if, only when. His phone buzzed. Rodriguez. Talk to me. We cracked the encrypted line, the one Sheriff Bradley's been using. Rodriguez's voice was tight. Jack, it's worse than we thought. Way worse. How much worse? The Masons aren't just buying property. They're laundering money, millions of dollars. Through shell companies, fake development projects, offshore accounts. A pause. And there's a third player, someone above Richard Mason, someone pulling the strings. Who? We don't have a name yet, but the communications reference the chairman. And whoever he is, he's not happy about you. In fact, he's authorized what they're calling extreme measures to resolve the Collins situation. Jack felt ice form in his stomach. What kind of extreme measures? We intercepted a payment transfer 2 hours ago. $200,000 to a private military contractor. 40 men. Heavy weapons. Rodriguez exhaled. They're coming tonight, Jack. Not to scare you, to eliminate you. 40 men. Full tactical gear, night vision, the works. Another pause. This isn't a fight you can win with 4 guys. Jack looked at the cabin, at the window where Emma slept, at everything he'd sworn to protect. Then we make it a fight they can't afford to win. What do you mean? I mean we stop playing defense. Jack stood. Get me everything on this chairman, every connection, every weakness, and contact Agent Webb at the FBI. Tell her the evidence she's been building for 3 years is about to walk right into her lap. You going to let the feds handle it? No. I'm going to deliver 40 mercenaries to her doorstep. She can handle what's left. He ended the call, walked inside. Emma was awake, sitting up in bed, hands on her belly. I heard you talking. What's happening? They're sending more men. A lot more. How many? 40. Emma's face went pale. Jack, you can't fight 40 men. Not even you. I'm not going to fight them alone. He sat beside her, took her hands. But I need you to do something for me. Something you're not going to like. What? I need you to leave. Just for tonight. Walsh will take you somewhere safe, somewhere they can't find you. And when this is over, I'll come get you. No! Emma, I said no! Her grip tightened on his hands. I'm not running. I'm not leaving you alone. This is our home, our family, our fight. It's too dangerous. It was dangerous when Derek Mason beat me on that porch. It was dangerous when his mercenaries came last night. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't run then. I won't run now. This is different. 40 armed men. I don't care if it's 100. I'm staying with my husband. She cupped his face. We fight together, Jack. That's what we promised each other. For better or worse. Until death do us part. Jack stared at her. At the bruises still fading on her face. At the fire in her eyes that nothing, not money, not threats, not violence, had managed to extinguish. You're the bravest person I've ever known. Then stop trying to protect me and let me stand beside you. He pulled her close, held her, felt their daughter kick against his chest. Together then. Together. The morning was spent preparing. Walsh fortified the cabin's defenses. Chen expanded the surveillance network. Rodriguez coordinated with federal contacts, building the case that would bring the Masons down. And Jack reached out to the community. Luther Hayes arrived first. 78 years old. Vietnam veteran. 3 Purple Hearts. He'd been waiting for someone to stand up to the Masons for 30 years. You need help, Commander? I need witnesses. People willing to testify about what the Masons have done. I can give you 50. 50? At least. Families they've threatened. Businesses they've destroyed. People who lost everything because they wouldn't sell. Luther's eyes hardened. We've been scared for too long. Time to stop being scared. By noon, the cabin was filled with people Jack had never met. An elderly couple whose home had burned down 18 months ago. A fisherman whose boat had been sabotaged. A widow whose husband had drowned under suspicious circumstances. One by one, they shared their stories. One by one, they offered their testimony. Why now? Jack asked them. Why not before? A woman named Margaret stepped forward. 63. Gray hair. Eyes that had seen too much loss. Because before, we were alone. Anyone who spoke out was crushed, silenced, made to disappear. She looked at the others. But you're not going to disappear, are you, Commander? No, ma'am, I'm not. Then neither are we. At 3 p.m., Chen intercepted a communication that changed everything. Jack, you need to see this. The tablet showed a recorded phone call. Sheriff Bradley's voice. The Collins operation is tonight, midnight. The chairman wants no survivors. A second voice, older, colder. And the woman? Her too. Make it look like a home invasion gone wrong. What about the body cameras? The surveillance? Disable them. Destroy them. By morning, there won't be any evidence of what happened. Jack's blood turned to ice. No survivors. Emma, too. He'd known the Masons were dangerous. He hadn't realized they were willing to murder a pregnant woman to protect their secrets. Who's the second voice? Jack demanded. Still running it through analysis. But the chairman, whoever he is, he's not local. The accent, the phrasing. This guy is connected. Seriously connected. Can we trace the call? Already working on it. Jack looked at Emma. She'd heard everything. Her face was white, but her jaw was set. They're going to try to kill us. They're going to try. What do we do? Jack felt the old training take over. The part of him that planned operations, calculated risks, found ways to win when winning seemed impossible. We let them come, and then we show them why that was a mistake. At 6 p.m., Jack called a meeting. Walsh, Chen, Rodriguez joining by video link. Luther and a dozen community members who'd insisted on staying to help. Here's what we know. 40 armed mercenaries will hit this property at midnight. Their orders are to leave no survivors. They have superior numbers, superior firepower, and they think they have the element of surprise. What do we have? Walsh asked. We have something better. We have preparation. We have positioning. And we have something they don't. Jack looked at each face in turn. We have people worth fighting for. What's the plan? Jack pulled up a diagram on the tablet. Chen has identified their staging area. They'll approach from 3 directions: lake, road, and forest. They expect to overwhelm us with numbers. We're going to use those numbers against them. How? By making them think they've already won. At 8 p.m., Emma found Jack on the porch. Scout had been brought back from the vet that afternoon. The small dog lay at Jack's feet, still bandaged but healing. Ranger sat beside him. The 2 dogs who'd been strangers, now bonded by shared battle. I brought Scout out of surgery, Emma said. I wasn't supposed to move him yet, but I thought he'd want to be here, with us. He's a fighter. He gets it from his family. Jack smiled. It felt strange on his face after so many hours of tension. I'm scared, Jack. So am I. You? Emma sat beside him. You're never scared. I'm always scared. Every mission, every operation, every time I put on the uniform and walk into danger. He took her hand. But I've learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's deciding that something matters more than the fear. And what matters more to you? He looked at her belly, at the life they'd created together. You do. You always have. She leaned her head against his shoulder. Whatever happens tonight, I want you to know something. What? These past 3 years, being your wife, carrying your child, they've been the best years of my life. And no matter what happens, I wouldn't trade them for anything. Nothing's going to happen. We're going to win. We're going to raise our daughter. We're going to grow old together on this lake. Promise? Jack kissed her forehead. Promise. At 10 p.m., Chen reported movement. They're mobilizing. Boats launching from 3 different points. Trucks moving on the back roads. A pause. This is it, Commander. They're coming. Jack stood, checked his weapon, looked at the people gathered in his cabin. Soldiers, civilians, strangers who'd become allies. Everyone knows their positions. Everyone knows the plan. His voice was calm, steady. The voice of a commander who'd led men through hell and brought them home again. Whatever happens tonight, Remember what we're fighting for. Not property, not money. Justice. For everyone the Masons have hurt. For everyone they've silenced. And if we don't win? Someone asked. We will. But if we don't? Jack met the man's eyes. Then we make sure they remember this night forever. We make sure that hurting innocent people has a cost. And we make sure that the next family they threaten knows that someone fought back. The room was silent. Then Luther stepped forward. I've been waiting 50 years for someone to say that. He extended his hand. Let's give these bastards hell. At 11:47 p.m., the first boats appeared on the lake. Jack watched through night vision goggles. 8 vessels, 4 men each, moving in tactical formation. Contact north, Walsh reported. 3 trucks on the access road, 12 hostiles. Contact south, Chen added. Foot patrol through the forest, 8 more. 52 men, more than Rodriguez had predicted. They brought everyone, Jack murmured. Scared of you, boss? They should be. The boats reached the dock. Men poured onto the wood, weapons raised, moving with professional precision. Jack recognized the equipment, military grade. The kind of gear only serious operators used. Hold positions, he said into his radio. Wait for my signal. The mercenaries spread out, surrounding the cabin, cutting off escape routes. Exactly what Jack had predicted. Breach team, move to primary entrance, a voice commanded. Secondary teams, cover the windows. No one gets out. They thought they were hunting. They didn't realize they were the prey. Commander Collins, a voice with a megaphone. This is your one chance. Come out with your hands up. Surrender now, and we'll make this quick. Jack stepped onto the porch. Every weapon in the yard swung toward him. You want me? Here I am. Where's your wife? Inside, terrified, crying. Jack's voice was steady. Exactly where you expected her to be. The mercenary leader approached. Same man from last night. Same night vision goggles. Same arrogance. You should have run, Commander. Taken the money. Disappeared. That's not who I am. No, you're the hero. The soldier who thinks he can make a difference. The man laughed. Let me tell you something about heroes. They die, just like everyone else. Maybe, but not tonight. You think your 3 friends are going to save you? We know about Walsh, Chen, the others. We've planned for them. Have you? We've planned for everything. Jack smiled. Everything except this. The lights came on. Not the cabin lights, stadium lights, portable generators, blazing illumination that turned midnight into noon. The mercenaries froze, blinded, exposed. What the? And then the cameras started recording. Dozens of them, hidden in trees, mounted on the cabin, positioned by community members who'd spent the afternoon placing them while Jack drew all the attention. You're on live stream, Jack said calmly. Right now, everything happening here is being broadcast to 3 different news networks. The FBI, the Department of Justice, and approximately 40,000 people watching online. The mercenary leader's face went pale. That's impossible. We disabled your surveillance. You disabled what I let you find. The rest has been streaming since 6 p.m. Jack pulled out his phone. Right now, your face is on every screen in America. Your employer's face. Your weapons. Your tactics. Your illegal assault on a civilian property. He showed the screen. Would you like to wave? You're bluffing. I'm a Navy SEAL. I don't bluff. The leader grabbed his radio. Command, we have a problem. We're compromised. Full exposure. Static. Then a voice Jack didn't recognize. Abort. Abort immediately. All units, fall back. Sir, we can still... I said abort, now! The mercenaries hesitated, looked at each other, looked at the cameras recording everything. You heard him, Jack said. Leave, now, and tell whoever's paying you that this ends tonight. The evidence we've collected is already with federal authorities. By morning, arrest warrants will be issued, bank accounts will be frozen, and everyone involved in this operation will be facing decades in prison. You think this is over? You think you've won? I think 50 armed men just tried to murder a pregnant woman in her home, and the whole world watched. Jack stepped closer. I think that's the kind of thing that ends careers, destroys families, brings down empires. His voice dropped. Run, while you still can. They ran, all of them, scrambling back to their boats, jumping into their trucks, fleeing into the forest. Within 3 minutes, the property was empty. Walsh emerged from his position. That was incredible. That was phase 1. There's a phase 2? Jack looked at the lake, at the retreating boats, at the chaos they'd just created. Phase 2 is the chairman, whoever he is, whatever his connection to the Masons. Jack's eyes hardened. Tonight we defended our home. Tomorrow we end this. Permanently. At 2 a.m., the FBI arrived. Agent Diana Webb led the team. 20 agents, federal warrant, full tactical support. Commander Collins, impressive operation. I had help. The live stream was particularly creative. 63,000 viewers at peak. 3 networks already running the footage. By morning, this will be the biggest story in the country. And the Masons? Richard Mason was arrested 30 minutes ago. Derek is in custody. Sheriff Bradley tried to run. My people caught him at the county line. Webb smiled thinly. The evidence you provided, combined with the footage from tonight, is enough to put them away for decades. What about the chairman? Webb's smile faded. That's where things get complicated. The encrypted communications point to someone high up, very high up. We have a name, but no proof. Who? Webb hesitated, then showed him a photograph. Jack's blood went cold. That's Senator Morrison, chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, one of the most powerful men in Washington. Webb pocketed the photo. If he's involved, and I believe he is, we're not just taking down a local crime family. We're exposing corruption at the highest levels of government. Can you prove it? Not yet. But with your help, with the testimony you've gathered, with the evidence trail the Masons left, she met his eyes. We might be able to. What do you need? Time, patience, and for you to stay alive long enough to testify. Jack looked at Emma, at their cabin, at everything they'd fought for. I can do that. At dawn, Jack sat on the porch with Emma. Scout lay at their feet, healing but alive. Ranger sat beside him. The community members who'd helped them had finally gone home, exhausted but triumphant. It's over, Emma whispered. Not yet. There's still the trial, the testimony. Whoever this chairman is, I know, but the worst part is over. She took his hand. We survived. We did. Because of you. Because you came home when I needed you. I'll always come home, Emma, no matter where I am, no matter what it takes. He pulled her close. This is where I belong. They watched the sun rise over the lake, gold and pink and orange spreading across the water. What happens now? Emma asked. Now we heal. We rebuild. We raise our daughter. Jack smiled. And we make sure no one ever hurts this community again. How? Jack looked at Luther's truck disappearing down the road, at the neighbors who'd risked everything to help, at the network of survivors who'd finally found the courage to fight back. By finishing what we started. By making sure the world knows what the Masons did. And by building something stronger on the ashes of their empire.
Can we do that?
We already have. Emma leaned her head against his shoulder. Behind them, the cabin stood damaged but intact. Around them, a community was waking up to freedom for the first time in decades. And in Washington, a powerful man was about to learn that his secrets weren't as safe as he thought. 3 days after the siege, Richard Mason tried to make a deal. Agent Webb called Jack at 7 a.m. with the news. He's offering full cooperation, names, accounts, everything. In exchange for what? Reduced sentence, protection for his son. Webb paused. And immunity from any charges related to Senator Morrison. Jack felt his jaw tighten. He knows about Morrison? He knows everything. The money laundering, the political connections, the offshore accounts. Another pause. Jack, Richard Mason has been the senator's bagman for 15 years. He's moved over $200 million through Cedar Falls, and he's willing to testify to all of it, if we let his son walk. Derek beat my pregnant wife. He kicked my dog. He tried to have my family murdered. I know. And you're asking me to let him walk? I'm asking you what matters more. Justice for your family, or justice for everyone the Masons and Morrison have hurt? Webb's voice softened. I've been building this case for 3 years, Jack. Morrison has destroyed lives, ruined careers, possibly had people killed. If we can take him down, we save hundreds of families from what happened to yours. Jack looked at Emma. She was sitting at the kitchen table, Scout in her lap, listening to every word. What do you think? He asked her. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke. Derek Mason is a monster, but he's a small monster, a petty monster. Her hand moved to her belly. Morrison is the one who sent 50 men to kill us. Morrison is the one who's been destroying this community for decades. She met Jack's eyes. If letting Derek walk means taking down the man who ordered my death, then let him walk. You're sure? I'm sure. Jack returned to the phone. Do it. But I want conditions. Name them. Derek Mason never comes within 100 miles of Cedar Falls. He never contacts my wife, my family, or anyone in this community. And if he ever threatens anyone again, anyone, the deal is void, and he goes to prison for the rest of his life. I can make that happen. Then make it happen. The next week was chaos. Federal agents swarmed Cedar Falls. They seized Mason Development Corporation, froze bank accounts, subpoenaed records. Every day brought new revelations, new arrests, new evidence of corruption that had poisoned the county for decades. Sheriff Bradley flipped within 48 hours. He gave up everyone, deputies on the payroll, judges who'd been bribed, politicians who'd looked the other way. By the end of the week, 17 people were in federal custody, but Morrison remained untouched. We need more, Webb told Jack during one of their daily briefings. Richard Mason's testimony is powerful, but it's the word of a convicted criminal against a United States senator. We need corroboration, documents, recordings, something that proves Morrison knew what he was funding. What about the mercenaries, the ones who attacked us? Most of them lawyered up, but one of them, the leader, a man named Kozlov, he's willing to talk. Why? Because Morrison threw him under the bus, publicly denied ever hiring him, called him a lone wolf with a grudge against veterans. Webb smiled grimly. Kozlov didn't appreciate that. What does he have? Voice recordings, Morrison giving orders directly, including the order to leave no survivors at your cabin. Jack felt his blood run cold. He'd suspected. He'd known. but hearing it confirmed was something else entirely. When can I talk to him? Tomorrow, federal detention facility in Atlanta. Webb paused. Jack, I have to warn you. Kozlov is dangerous, unpredictable. He's cooperating because he's angry, not because he's reformed. Be careful. I'm always careful. No, you're not. You're reckless and stubborn, and completely unwilling to back down from a fight. Webb's voice softened. It's your best quality, and your worst. The drive to Atlanta took 6 hours. Walsh came with him. They didn't talk much. There wasn't much to say. Everything that mattered was waiting in a federal interrogation room. Kozlov was exactly what Jack expected. Hard, cold. The eyes of a man who'd killed without hesitation and would do it again given the chance. Commander Collins, the hero. Kozlov's accent was Eastern European, Russian maybe, Ukrainian. I've heard a lot about you.
I've heard a lot about you, too.
All bad, I assume.
You tried to murder my pregnant wife.
I was following orders.
That's not an excuse.
It wasn't meant to be. Kozlov leaned back in his chair. You want to know about Morrison? Fine, I'll tell you. But first, I want you to understand something.
What?
I'm not doing this because I feel bad about what happened. I don't feel bad. Your wife, your dog, your unborn child, they meant nothing to me. They were targets, obstacles, collateral damage in a business transaction. Jack's hands clenched under the table. Walsh put a warning hand on his arm. Then why are you talking? Because Morrison betrayed me. He hired my team for a job, promised payment, protection, legal cover, and when things went wrong, he threw us away like garbage. Kozlov's eyes hardened. I've spent 20 years in this business. I've worked for dictators, drug lords, arms dealers, and none of them ever betrayed me like that American politician.
So this is revenge.
This is justice. My kind of justice. Kozlov pulled out a phone. A burner, probably smuggled into the facility. 3 years of recordings. Every conversation I ever had with Morrison. Every order, every payment, every dirty secret he thought was buried. Why keep recordings? Insurance. In my line of work, you learn to protect yourself. Kozlov slid the phone across the table. Take it. Use it. Destroy him. Jack looked at the phone, at the man who'd tried to kill his family, at the weapon that would bring down a senator. Why should I trust anything on here? You shouldn't. But Agent Webb's people can verify the recordings, voice analysis, metadata, whatever you Americans use. Kozlov smiled coldly. It's all real, Commander. Every word. And what do you want in return? I want Morrison to suffer. I want him to lose everything. His power, his reputation, his freedom.
I want him to know what it feels like to be thrown away.
Kozlov leaned forward. Can you make that happen? Jack thought about Emma, about Scout, about the community that had been terrorized for decades. Yeah, I can make that happen. The recordings changed everything. Webb's team verified them within 72 hours. Voice analysis confirmed Morrison's identity. Metadata proved the recordings were authentic. And the content was damning beyond anything they'd hoped. Morrison ordering the attack on Jack's cabin. Morrison discussing the murder of Harold Chen 3 years earlier. Morrison arranging payments to corrupt officials across 5 states. Morrison bragging about how untouchable he was. This is it, Webb said, her voice tight with barely contained excitement. This is everything we need. When do we move? The Attorney General is briefing the President tomorrow morning. If everything goes as planned, Morrison will be arrested by the end of the week. Jack should have felt relief, satisfaction, victory. Instead, he felt exhausted. "It's been 6 weeks," he said quietly. 6 weeks since Derek Mason beat my wife on our porch. 6 weeks of fighting, planning, surviving. And Morrison is still walking around free. Not for long. You keep saying, Matt. And I keep meaning it. Webb met his eyes. "I know this has been hard, Jack. Harder than anything you faced in combat. Because in combat, the enemy is clear. The rules are defined. But this, corruption, politics, power, it's messier, slower, more frustrating. I'm used to faster results. I know, but some battles take time. And this battle, the one you've been fighting since that first day, it's almost over." She put her hand on his shoulder. "Go home. Be with your wife. She's due any day now, isn't she?" 2 weeks. "Then go. Let me handle the rest." Jack went home. Emma was waiting on the porch, Scout at her feet, Ranger beside her. The cabin had been repaired. New windows, new door, fresh paint covering the bullet holes. It looked almost normal. Almost peaceful. "How did it go?" Emma asked. "We have him. Morrison. Everything we need to put him away forever." "When?" "End of the week. Maybe sooner." Emma nodded slowly. Then she winced. "Emma, what's wrong?" "Nothing, just contractions. Braxton Hicks, probably." "How long have you been having them?" "A few hours." "A few hours?" Jack knelt beside her. "Why didn't you call me?" "Because you were doing something important. Because I didn't want to worry you." She smiled through another wince. "I'm fine, Jack, really." "You're not fine. You're in labor." "I'm not in labor. I'm just—" She stopped. Her eyes went wide. "Oh." "Oh? What does oh mean?" "My water just broke." 2 hours later, they were at Cedar Falls Memorial Hospital. Dr. Patricia Reeves, the same vet who'd saved Scout's life, had recommended a colleague, Dr. Sarah Chen. No relation to David Chen, but equally competent. "You're dilated to 6 centimeters, Dr. Chen reported. "This baby is coming fast." "How fast?" "Few hours. Maybe less." She smiled at Emma. "First babies usually take longer, but your daughter seems to be in a hurry." Jack held Emma's hand as the contractions intensified. He'd faced enemy fire without flinching. He'd watched friends die in combat without losing focus. But watching his wife in pain he couldn't stop, couldn't fight, couldn't protect her from, that was harder than anything he'd ever done. "You're doing great," he whispered. "You're so strong." "I don't feel strong," Emma gasped through another contraction. "I feel like I'm being torn apart." "That's what strong feels like. Doing the hard thing, even when it hurts." "Easy for you to say. You're not the one giving birth." "No, but I'm the one who's going to be there for every second of it." He kissed her forehead. "Together, remember?" "Together." At 11:47 p.m., Hope Elizabeth Collins entered the world. 7 pounds, 6 ounces. 10 fingers, 10 toes. A full head of dark hair, and lungs that could wake the dead. Jack held her for the first time, and something inside him broke. Not broke like damage. Broke like dawn. Like light flooding into a dark room. "She's perfect," he whispered. "She looks like you," Emma said, exhausted but radiant. "Poor kid." "Jack." "What?" "We did it. We survived. And now—" Emma's eyes glistened. "Now we have her." Jack looked at his daughter, at his wife, at the family he'd fought across oceans and battlefields and corrupt empires to protect. "Yeah, we do." 2 days later, Senator Morrison was arrested. The news broke at 6 a.m. Jack watched it from Emma's hospital room, Hope sleeping in his arms. Federal agents arrested Senator Thomas Morrison early this morning on charges including racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder, money laundering, and corruption. The arrest comes after a months-long investigation that traced millions of dollars in illegal payments through a network of shell companies and corrupt local officials. The screen showed Morrison in handcuffs, the same man who'd ordered Jack's death, the same man who'd terrorized Cedar Falls for 15 years. Now walking toward a federal transport vehicle, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. "Senator Morrison, do you have any comment?" "Senator, what do you say to the families you've hurt?" "Senator..." Morrison said nothing. His face was stone, but his eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, found a camera and stared directly into it. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. "He's looking for you," Emma said quietly. "He knows you did this." "Let him look." "Jack..." "He's done, Emma. Whatever he thinks, whatever he plans, he's done. The evidence is overwhelming. The witnesses are lined up. By this time next year, he'll be in a federal prison for the rest of his life. And until then? Until then, we live. We raise our daughter. We heal." Jack looked at Hope, still sleeping peacefully. "We stop letting monsters like him control our lives." The trial lasted 3 months. Jack testified. Emma testified. Richard Mason, Sheriff Bradley, Kozlov, and dozens of others took the stand and painted a picture of corruption so deep, so pervasive, that even the most skeptical observers were horrified. Morrison's lawyers fought hard. They attacked witnesses, questioned evidence, tried every procedural trick in the book. None of it worked. On March 15th, the jury returned its verdict. Guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted. Families who'd lost everything wept with relief. Journalists scrambled to file stories. And Thomas Morrison, United States Senator, Chairman of the Armed Services Committee, one of the most powerful men in Washington, stood motionless as federal marshals approached to take him into custody. But before they reached him, he turned. His eyes found Jack in the gallery. "This isn't over, Commander." "Yeah, it is. You think you've won? You've destroyed one man, one network. But do you know how many others there are? How many politicians, businessmen, power brokers who operate exactly the way I do?" Morrison smiled. It was cold, empty. The smile of a man who'd lost everything and had nothing left to lose. "You've cut off one head. 10 more will grow back. Maybe, but you won't be one of them." "Won't I?" Morrison laughed as the marshals took his arms. "I'm 63 years old. Even with a life sentence, I'll be out in 15 years. Less if I cooperate. And when I get out, I'll remember this. I'll remember you." "So will I." "Good. Because this, everything that's happened, it's just the beginning." Morrison's voice dropped. "You've made an enemy today, Commander Collins. An enemy who has nothing left to lose. An enemy who will spend every moment of his imprisonment thinking about how to destroy you." The marshals pulled him away. Jack watched him go. "He's trying to scare you," Emma said, taking his hand. "Don't let him." "I'm not scared." "Then what are you?" Jack thought about the question, about everything they'd been through, about everything that lay ahead. "I'm tired, and I'm grateful, and I'm ready to go home." They walked out of the courthouse together. Outside, the sun was shining. Spring was coming, and for the first time in months, the future felt like something to look forward to instead of something to survive. "Jack!" They turned. Luther Hayes was hurrying toward them, his cane clicking against the courthouse steps. "I just heard from Webb. Morrison's assets are being seized. All of them. The properties around the lake, the development company, everything. Luther's eyes were bright with tears. She says the money is going to be used to compensate victims. Families like mine. People who lost everything. That's good news. Good news. It's a miracle. Luther grabbed Jack's hand. You did this. You and Emma and that little dog who refused to quit. You gave us our lives back. The community did it. All those people who testified. All those witnesses who found the courage to speak up. Because you showed them it was possible. Luther shook his head. I've lived in Cedar Falls for 78 years. I've watched the Masons destroy family after family, and I never thought, never believed that anyone could stop them. He squeezed Jack's hand. You proved me wrong, and I've never been happier to be wrong. Jack looked at Emma, at Hope, sleeping in her mother's arms, at the old man crying tears of joy. We all proved something today, that the good guys can win, that power doesn't make you untouchable, that courage, real courage, can change the world. So what happens now? Jack smiled. Now we go home, and we figure out what comes next. The drive back to Cedar Falls took 4 hours. Jack and Emma took turns driving while Hope slept in her car seat. Scout and Ranger lay in the back, the small dog curled against the German Shepherd's massive chest. I've been thinking, Emma said as they crossed the county line. About what? About the cabin, about our life here, about what we want for Hope. And? I want to stay. I know it's been hard. I know there are memories here that will never go away. But I also know that this is home. Our home. The home we fought for. She looked at him. Is that okay? More than okay. Really? Emma, I spent 12 years fighting for things I couldn't see. Countries I'd never live in. People I'd never meet. This place, this cabin, this lake, this community. It's the first thing I've ever fought for that was truly mine. He reached over and took her hand. I'm not going anywhere. They arrived at the cabin as the sun was setting. The community was waiting for them. Luther, Dr. Reeves, the fisherman whose boat had been sabotaged, the widow whose husband had drowned, dozens of families who'd been touched by the Mason conspiracy and freed by its destruction. They'd brought food, supplies, gifts for hope, and something else. What is this? Jack asked, staring at the cabin. It looked different. New paint, new shutters, a new porch with a swing, and on the dock, a beautiful old lantern glowing in the dusk. We rebuilt it, Luther said, while you were at the trial. Every family in the community contributed. Labor, materials, money. He smiled. You gave us back our lives. This is our way of saying thank you. Emma was crying. Jack found that his own eyes were wet. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just welcome home. That night, Jack sat on the new porch swing with Hope in his arms. Emma sat beside him, Scout at her feet, Ranger standing guard at the edge of the property. The lantern on the dock cast a warm glow across the water. We made it, Emma whispered. We did. All that pain, all that fear, all that fighting. She leaned her head against his shoulder. It was worth it. Every moment. Even the hard parts? Jack looked at his daughter, at his wife, at the home that had been rebuilt by the hands of a grateful community. Especially the hard parts, because they led us here. The lake was calm, the sky was full of stars, and somewhere in a federal prison, a powerful man was beginning a sentence that would last the rest of his life. But Jack wasn't thinking about Morrison. He was thinking about Hope, about the future they'd fought for, about the life that was finally truly theirs. I love you, Emma Collins. I love you too, Jack Collins. They sat together in the darkness, watching the lantern glow, holding their daughter, listening to the quiet sounds of a community finally at peace. 1 year passed. The seasons changed around Crescent Lake. Summer faded into autumn. Autumn surrendered to winter. Winter melted into spring. And through it all, the Collins family healed. Hope took her first steps on the new porch. Scout, fully recovered, followed her everywhere like a furry shadow. Ranger watched over them both, the old warrior finding new purpose in protecting the smallest member of the pack. Jack had thought peace would feel strange after so many years of war. He'd been wrong. Peace felt like coming home. But some wounds took longer to heal than others. You're having the dream again, Emma's voice cut through the darkness. Jack sat up in bed, sweat soaking his shirt, heart pounding against his ribs. I'm fine. You're not fine. You haven't been fine for 3 nights. She sat up beside him, touched his face. Talk to me. It's nothing. Jack. He closed his eyes. The images were still there. The mercenaries, the gunfire, Emma screaming, Hope crying. I keep seeing them. The men who came that night. 50 of them. And in the dream, I'm not fast enough. I'm not strong enough. They get through. They find you and Hope and... He couldn't finish. Emma pulled him close, held him the way he'd held her so many times before. They didn't get through. You stopped them. You saved us. But what if I hadn't? What if the plan had failed? What if... Jack, listen to me. Emma pulled back, met his eyes. You spent 12 years preparing for the worst, training for disaster, planning for failure. And that's what made you the man who saved this family. She cupped his face. But the war is over now. We won. And you're allowed to stop fighting. I don't know how. Then learn, the same way you learned everything else. She smiled. One day at a time. The next morning, Jack made a decision. He found Walsh on the dock, fishing in the early light. The big man had stayed in Cedar Falls after the trial, claiming he liked the quiet. Jack suspected it was more than that. I need your help. Name it. I want to start a program for veterans, men and women who came home and couldn't find their way back. Jack sat beside him. I know what that feels like. The dreams, the disconnection, the sense that the person you were died overseas, and the person who came back is just surviving. What kind of program? Service dogs, matching veterans with animals who need homes. Jack looked at Ranger, lying in the sun. Titan saved my life, not just physically. He gave me something to care for, something to protect, a reason to keep going when everything else felt pointless. Walsh was quiet for a moment. Then he reeled in his line and set down his pole. I'm in. Just like that? Just like that. Walsh met his eyes. I've been looking for a reason to stay, Jack. Something that matters. Something that uses what I know without destroying what I've become. He smiled. This is it. The program started small. Jack converted the old barn into a training facility. Emma handled the paperwork, nonprofit status, grant applications, community outreach. Luther rallied the neighbors. Dr. Reeves offered veterinary support at cost. The first dogs arrived in October. 5 rescues from a military working dog retirement program. German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, a Labrador with 3 legs and eyes that had seen too much. The first veterans arrived a week later. Marcus Thompson, 26, Army Ranger. 2 tours in Afghanistan. Discharged after an IED, took his left arm and most of his hope. I don't know why I'm here, Marcus said, standing in the barn doorway, his empty sleeve pinned to his shoulder. Neither did I, the first time someone helped me. Jack gestured to a black German shepherd lying in the corner. That's Shadow. He lost his handler 6 months ago. Hasn't bonded with anyone since. What am I supposed to do with him? Nothing. Just sit with him. Let him get used to you. That's it? That's the beginning. Marcus sat. Shadow watched him warily. Neither moved for a long time. Then, slowly, Shadow stood. Walked over. Lay down beside Marcus. He chose you, Jack said quietly. Marcus's hand, his remaining hand, trembled as he touched Shadow's head. Why? Because he recognizes something in you. The same thing I recognize. Jack knelt beside them. You're not broken, Marcus. You're just healing. And healing takes time. How much time? As much as you need. The program grew. By spring, 20 veterans had come through. Some stayed for weeks, some for months. All of them left different than they arrived. Jack watched them heal, watched the dogs heal alongside them. And somewhere in the watching, he felt something inside himself finally begin to mend. You're different, Emma said one evening, Hope asleep in her arms, the sunset painting the lake gold. Different how? Lighter, like you're not carrying as much weight anymore. Maybe I'm not. What changed? Jack thought about the question, about the veterans he'd helped, about the dogs who'd found new purpose, about the community that had risen from the ashes of corruption. I spent my whole life learning how to destroy things, targets, enemies, threats. It's what I was trained for, what I was good at. He looked at her. But this, helping people heal, building something that lasts, this is better. This is what I was meant to do. You really believe that? I do. Emma leaned her head against his shoulder. Then so do I. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. Jack was working with a new veteran, Sarah Chen, no relation to David, a Navy corpsman who'd lost both legs to a roadside bomb, when his phone buzzed. Agent Webb. I need to see you. Today. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, but there's something you should know. Something I can't discuss over the phone. Jack met her at the Cedar Falls Diner an hour later. She was already seated, coffee untouched, a folder on the table in front of her. Morrison is dead. Jack felt the words hit him like a physical blow. What? Heart attack. Last night. In his cell. Webb's voice was flat, professional. The official story is natural causes. Stress of imprisonment, underlying conditions, the usual. And the unofficial story? Webb slid the folder across the table. 3 days ago, Morrison requested a meeting with federal prosecutors. Said he had information about other operations, other senators, a network of corruption that went far deeper than anyone suspected. And then he had a convenient heart attack. Very convenient. Jack opened the folder. Medical reports, autopsy results, witness statements from guards who'd seen nothing unusual. They killed him. Probably. We can't prove it, but probably. Webb took a sip of her cold coffee. The people Morrison was about to expose are powerful. More powerful than him. And they don't leave loose ends. So it's over? All that work, all that sacrifice, and the real criminals walk free? Not necessarily. Webb leaned forward. Before he died, Morrison managed to smuggle out a message. To you. To me? Webb pulled out an envelope, yellowed, wrinkled, addressed in shaky handwriting. The guards found it in his cell. They were supposed to destroy it, but one of them, a veteran actually, decided it should reach its intended recipient. Jack took the envelope. His name was written on the front. Just his name. nothing else. Have you read it? No, it's sealed. Whatever Morrison wanted to say, he wanted to say it to you, alone. Jack stared at the envelope for a long moment. Then he opened it. The letter was 3 pages long, handwritten. The writing deteriorated as it went, as if Morrison had been racing against time. Commander Collins, by the time you read this, I'll probably be dead. The men I was about to betray don't tolerate betrayal. I knew that when I requested the meeting. I did it anyway. You're wondering why. Why a man who spent his life accumulating power would throw it away at the end. Why someone who ordered your death would try to help you from beyond the grave. The answer is simple. You won. Not the trial, not the conviction. Those were just formalities. You won the moment you refused to sell your property. The moment you stood on your porch and told my mercenaries that they'd underestimated you. The moment you proved that all my money, all my connections, all my power meant nothing against one man with something worth fighting for. I've spent 50 years building an empire, crushing anyone who stood in my way, telling myself that power was the only thing that mattered. And in the end, a Navy SEAL with a pregnant wife and a 15-pound dog tore it all down. Do you know what I thought about in my cell during those long nights? Not my money, not my influence, not the deals I'd made or the people I'd destroyed. I thought about you, about your wife, about the family you were building while mine crumbled. I envied you, Commander. I still do. The names in this letter are the men who will kill me. They're also the men who have been running operations like mine across the country for decades. Politicians, businessmen, judges. A network so vast that exposing one piece only reveals how much remains hidden. I can't bring them down from prison, but maybe you can. You have something I never had: integrity. People trust you, believe in you, follow you. Use that, build on it, create something that outlasts the corruption. That's my final request, Commander. Not forgiveness, I don't deserve that. Not redemption, it's too late for that. Just continuation. Take what I've given you and finish what you started. Make my death mean something. Thomas Morrison. Jack read the letter twice, 3 times. The names at the bottom were damning. Senators, CEOs, a Supreme Court justice, the kind of power that could make people disappear without a trace. What does it say? Webb asked. Jack folded the letter, tucked it into his pocket.
It says the fight isn't over. Jack, but it also says something else.
He met her eyes. It says that one man, standing for something he believes in, can change everything. Even the people who tried to destroy him.
Are you going to pursue it? The names?
Jack thought about the question, about Emma and Hope, about the program he'd built, about the life he'd finally found. Not the way Morrison expected. Not with guns and tactics and covert operations. He stood. There's another way to fight corruption, a better way. By building something so strong, so good, so undeniably right, that the darkness can't touch it. That sounds idealistic. Maybe. But idealism is what got us this far, Jack smiled. I'm going to take Morrison's information and give it to the people who can use it. Journalists, investigators, watchdog groups. And then I'm going to go home to my family and keep doing what I've been doing.
And if they come after you, the men Morrison named,
then they'll learn the same lesson Morrison learned. Jack's eyes hardened. I don't start fights, but I finish them. He drove home as the sun was setting. Emma met him on the porch, Hope on her hip, Scout and Ranger at her feet. The lantern on the dock was already lit, casting its warm glow across the water. How was your meeting? Complicated. Good complicated or bad complicated? Jack looked at his wife. at his daughter, at the home they built together from blood and tears and stubborn refusal to quit. Both, but mostly good. Are you going to tell me about it? Later. Right now, I just want to hold my family. Emma smiled. That same smile that had captured his heart 6 years ago. That same smile that had kept him going through deployments and battles and the darkest moments of his life. That can be arranged. The months that followed were quiet. Jack continued his work with veterans. Emma expanded her illustration business, creating children's books about brave dogs and the families who loved them. Hope grew into a toddler with her father's determination and her mother's gentle heart. The names from Morrison's letter made their way to the right people. Investigations were opened. Careers were scrutinized. Some men resigned quietly. Others were exposed publicly. The network Morrison had described began to crumble, piece by piece. Jack watched from a distance. He'd done his part. The rest was for others to finish. On the 1-year anniversary of Morrison's conviction, the community gathered at the Collins cabin. Luther, now 80, stood on the new dock and raised a glass. 1 year ago, a man and his wife stood alone against an empire. They had nothing but courage, faith, and a little dog who refused to quit. He looked at Jack and Emma. Today, that empire is dust, and this community, our community, is free. Cheers rose from the crowd. Neighbors who'd become family, strangers who'd become friends, veterans who'd found hope, dogs who'd found purpose. Jack stood among them, hope in his arms, Emma at his side. "Speech!" someone called. "Speech!" others echoed. Jack shook his head. "I'm not much for speeches." "Then just tell us what you've learned," Luther said. "In all of this, what have you learned?" Jack was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. "I've learned that the strongest weapon isn't a gun or a bomb or $1 billion. It's love. Love for your family. Love for your community. Love for the things that matter more than yourself." He looked at Emma. "I've learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to fight even when you're terrified, even when the odds are impossible, even when everyone tells you to give up." He looked at Scout, standing proudly despite his scars. "I've learned that the smallest among us can be the bravest, that loyalty doesn't depend on size or strength, that sometimes a 15-pound dog with a huge heart can change the course of history." He looked at the crowd, at the faces of people who'd suffered and survived and found their way back to hope. "And I've learned that no one is truly alone. Not when there are people willing to stand beside you, fight beside you, believe in you when you've stopped believing in yourself." He raised his own glass. "To Cedar Falls, to this community, to everyone who fought and everyone who healed and everyone who refused to let the darkness win." "To Cedar Falls!" the crowd echoed. That night, after the celebration ended and the guests went home, Jack sat on the dock with his feet in the water. The lantern burned beside him. The stars wheeled overhead. The lake was calm and dark and full of secrets. "Mind if I join you?" Emma sat beside him. She'd put Hope to bed. Scout and Ranger were sleeping on the porch. "I was thinking about the night we met," Jack said. "That terrible bar in San Diego? It wasn't terrible. It was perfect. You spilled beer on my dress. And you forgave me anyway." "I didn't forgive you. I made you buy me dinner to apologize." Emma smiled. "Best investment I ever made." "I knew that night. The moment you laughed instead of getting angry. The moment you looked at me like I was more than just another sailor in a port town." Jack took her hand. "I knew I was going to marry you." "You didn't know anything. You were drunk." "I was a little drunk, but I knew." He squeezed her fingers. And I know now, more than ever, you're the reason I survived, the reason I fought, the reason any of this means anything. Jack, I spent 12 years learning how to kill, how to destroy, how to be a weapon. He turned to face her. But you taught me how to live, how to love, how to be human again.
Emma's eyes glistened in the lantern light. You were always human, Jack. You just forgot for a while.
Maybe, but you reminded me. He pulled her close. And I will spend every day of the rest of my life being grateful for that. They sat together in the darkness, listening to the water lap against the dock, watching the lantern glow. What happens now? Emma asked. Now? Now we live. We raise hope. We help veterans find their way home. We build something that lasts. And if trouble comes again, then we face it together, the way we always have. Emma leaned her head against his shoulder. I love you, Jack Collins. I love you too, Emma Collins, more than words can say. The lantern burned on. Somewhere across the lake, a boat passed in the darkness. Its captain saw the light and knew, the way river travelers always know, that this was a safe harbor. A place where the lost could find their way. A beacon in the night. The man who'd lit that lantern had spent his life in war. He'd killed enemies and buried friends. He'd seen the worst of humanity and nearly lost himself to the darkness. But he'd found his way back, through love, through family, through a community that refused to let him fall. And now, on this quiet night, surrounded by everything he'd fought for, Commander Jack Collins finally understood what victory really meant. It wasn't defeating your enemies. It wasn't accumulating power. It wasn't proving you were stronger or smarter or more ruthless than the people trying to destroy you. Victory was this moment, this peace, this family. Victory was choosing love over fear. Victory was building instead of destroying. Victory was lighting a lantern in the darkness and trusting that someone who needed it would find their way home. Jack looked at his wife, at the cabin where his daughter slept, at the dogs who'd become family, at the lake that had witnessed his greatest battle and his greatest triumph. He'd spent his whole life learning how to fight. Now, finally, he'd learned how to live. The light burned on, and on that lake, in that cabin, surrounded by everything that mattered, Jack Collins was home. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs hope today. Leave a comment about where you're watching from and what this story reminded you of. Subscribe for more stories of faith, courage, and quiet strength. May God bless you, watch over your home, and guide your steps. And remember, sometimes the greatest victory isn't winning the war. It's finding peace when the fighting stops. Some things are worth protecting. Some battles are worth fighting. And some men, broken by war, find their truest purpose in the quiet act of lighting a lamp for those still lost in the darkness. The light burned on, and it always would.